2010 turned out to be a very exciting year in the world of professional boxing, providing for some great fights, knockouts, comebacks, upsets, and storylines. Yes, 2010 went a long way to whet our pugilistic appetites. But at the end of the day, or in this case year, boxing still left us thirsting for what could be some classic moments inside the squared circle. As we head towards the final seconds of the final round of 2010, I thought we'd do, as Don King would like to say, an SKD, something kind of different. We've been lucky enough this past year to receive tons of emails from you folks, questions, comments, opinions about the sport of boxing. So rather than just rewind and show you a bunch of videos, what we'd like to do is get you folks to participate. You're going to interview me. Producer John Hyatt has selected some of the most riveting questions, and he's going to ask them to me. And I'll let you know that I haven't seen any of these questions, so it's time to go toe-to-toe with Smitty. I don't know. I really hope so. Boxing has wanted this fight for at least 3 years now, and we've had every possible excuse for this fight not happening. Obviously, in the beginning, was Manny ready for Floyd? Was Floyd going to stay retired? All of that went by the wayside. Clearly, Manny Pacquiao is ready for Floyd Mayweather. Floyd's not retired. We've seen that. Then there became the whole steroid situation. First, Manny wouldn't agree to take the test the way Floyd wanted him to take the test. Then that went by the wayside, and Manny said, hey, I'll do any kind of testing. We still didn't get the fight in 2010. Now, Floyd has all of these legal woes going on, which really could put him behind bars and out of action. We'll see how that plays itself out from a legal standpoint, but I really believe that if this fight does not happen within the next 12 months, or I'll go 18 because of the legal situations going on with Floyd, we're not going to see the fight happen. Manny Pacquiao doesn't need the fight and won't need the fight and will, in all likelihood, be retired by that point. As for Floyd Mayweather, Floyd does need the fight. Floyd needs to fight for his legacy, something that he likes to get off track and say, oh, it doesn't matter, I'm about money, I'm about this. Floyd needs to fight. Boxing needs to fight. And maybe with everything that's going on, and maybe if Floyd has to spend some real downtime, he'll realize that there's something a little bit more important than just the almighty dollar. It's called your position in boxing, in boxing history. And it's something that you can't go back and get 5 and 10 years from now. So we're all craving for this fight to happen. It's the best fight in the world today. And so I really hope, as do all boxing fans watching, that we get that fight somewhere in 2011. And I think Floyd does too owe the boxing people something. Not only does he owe it to himself, but he does owe us and you something, because all of this money and everything he's received is because of the sport of boxing and you, the fans. And the fans clearly want the fight. So many of the guys that I like so much are really at $140. Guys like Timothy Bradley, guys like Devin Alexander, guys like Amir Khan, who clearly can make that transition up. If you really look at things in the actual welterweight division, who's a welterweight anymore? Is Miguel Cotto a welterweight? Is Manny Pacquiao a welterweight? Is Floyd Mayweather a welterweight? They seem to, when you get to this point in and around 140 pounds all the way up to 154, it seems as though there's no real welterweights anymore, and that's why I think we really should go back to, having way less divisions and having weigh-ins the day of, and then maybe I could answer that question is, who's legitimately 147 pounds other than me right now? Sky's the limit for Martinez. He had a great 2010 with the victory over Kelly Pavlik, and then what turned out to be the knockout of the year over Paul Williams. There's talk about a fight possibly with Manny Pacquiao if Manny can get that high. There's all kinds of other opportunities for him out there. Williams could even ask for a rematch. They battled to a draw the first time out. He is one of the most exciting fighters. In fact, he is my fighter of the year based on what he did in 2010. Sky's the limit for Sergio. Well, let's hope that one of the Klitschkos, preferably Vladimir, will take on David Haye. David Haye is a very exciting fighter, a good-looking kid. We all want to see him fight. He's got, if he can, do with his hands what he can do with his mouth, and then I think he'll go a long way in the heavyweight division. But he's got to beat one of the Klitschkos, and that's what I hope to see. Vladimir's been the dominant force. He hasn't lost in 6 years. His brother Vitaly hasn't lost in 7 years. They're not going to fight each other, so they have to venture out and fight David Haye, and I think that's what we are looking forward to. And both Klitschkos have said that they'll fight him, so I think we'll see that one or two of those fights in 2011, and that's something to look forward to in a division that hasn't shown us much over the past, since a guy named Lennox Lewis retired. It really doesn't matter what I think about Bernard Hopkins fighting. He's going to do what the hell he wants to do. If there's money to be made, a lot of it, then Bernard will fight again. Why not? I mean, what he did against Pascal was simply unbelievable. He won the fight. He really should be the oldest guy ever to win a world championship. And Bernard's back in my top 15 pound-for-pound list. And, hey, how about a fight with him and Glenn Johnson, two warriors? There's plenty of stuff out there. Yeah, I think he should, if he wants to fight again, why not? Well, he's just hired Emmanuel Stewart to work with him, so we'll see how the change in corners goes. I think at Chad's position in boxing, if nothing else, from a psychological standpoint, maybe having Emmanuel in there will help him. The fight with Pascal could have just been a bad night for Chad Dawson. He's looked great in all of his other fights. He's a tremendous boxer, so I think, he should be able to recapture a championship. Andre Ward, I think, could beat him stylistically. I think Froch would give him a good fight. We've seen him almost knocked out before in the fight against Andrade. Boute's a good fighter, but most of his stuff has been home cooking in Canada. So let's see what happens when he comes over to the States. He's a very good fighter. I'm not sold on him yet, but he's a very good fighter, and another guy who's in my top 15. Man, that's a super fight with two guys that aren't even at the best in terms of where they're going to get. Lopez and Gamboa. Two guys who stylistically will make for absolute fireworks. I can't wait to see the fight. I think that the fight will be made. Both fighters have told me they want the fight, and I think we'll see it sooner than later, and it won't be the only fight we see between those two great young fighters. I could certainly see a trilogy with those two. With a lot of help from Showtime, we might find out. They had their Bantamweight Tournament, also thanks to Showtime for what they did with their Super 6. There's been some trouble with that, but it's not the fault of Showtime's. In that tournament, Joseph Egbeko looked really good. Yanni Perez, although beaten, is still a really good fighter. Mahrez is a kid that I think is a really good young prospect. But then the cream of the crop are guys like Nonito Donaire, Fernando Montiel. Those guys will settle, hopefully, their differences coming up in February in a fight I can't wait to see. So that's actually one of the really exciting divisions in all of boxing right now. And any of those guys I named on any given night, could come out with a championship. But I think Donaire and Montiel are really the cream of the crop right now in and around that weight. If there ever is a toss-up, that would be the toss-up question. I'm concerned with Ricky Hatton because of the devastating knockout losses to Floyd Mayweather and Manny Pacquiao. I've been concerned about Evander for 2 decades now, it seems like. Again, I would like to see Evander Holyfield retire because of the cumulative effect of all the punches he's taken from so many great fighters, over the last few decades. And even beyond, back when he was a great amateur. So I would really like to see Evander quit. As for Ricky Hatton, what I'd like to see him do is get his body back in shape, which I hear he's doing, and maybe take a couple of tune-up fights. And if he does show the ability and the want to still fight, then how about a fight with somebody he knows right over in his neck of the woods named Amir Khan? He's right there. The victory over Maidana and the way he performed in that fight, good and bad, and exciting at the end and all the way through, really. He's right there at it. I think what's going to happen is we're going to have to let the Timothy Bradley, Devin Alexander thing play itself out, and the winner of that fight, I think, should fight Amir Khan, and then we'll see. Right now, I like Bradley to win that fight with Alexander, but it's a pick'em fight. And then Amir Khan, with a victory or a good performance, he's right there sitting on the, 16 to 20, somewhere in that category. But certainly a guy with, we've seen what Freddie Roach has done for him, and look forward to seeing him fight next year. There are so many things that I think boxing needs to do. First and foremost, I think what it really needs to do is start to think about its fighters. The boxers, at the end of the day, we're into the holiday season. We just had a guy like Iran Barkley who had no home to live in as of a few weeks ago. I think that's been remedies, and we know so many stories about this. First off, boxing needs to do something for its own. All the legendary fighters who do a sport that is by far the most difficult sport in the world. Beating people up is the most difficult thing, and getting beat up. So boxing needs to do for itself, and I think the only way it's going to get done, given where we're at now, is to have some type of organization. That doesn't mean we need to phase out a Top Rank or a Golden Boy or a Don King or a DeBella, but taking these guys and these organizations and their brains, we need to have something that is run by the government, that is structured in a way that there is organization, and that things will be, we can't have all of these bad decisions that we've had. We can't have all the egregious things that happen in the sport in this day and age. We've learned too much, hopefully. And one of the things, and I hate to bring this up, is we need to look a little bit at what the UFC has done. The UFC is organized. They run it like a business. And if boxing would run itself like a business and use that type of, example, I think that the sport can do a lot to structure itself in a way where we won't be asking about, is Floyd going to fight Manny? Because in essence, the fighters wouldn't have a chance or a choice. They would have to. They would have to either fight or they wouldn't get paid, and they wouldn't be a champion. So I think if the sport would start to run itself like a business, a lot of people have gotten rich off of this sport. A lot of people continue to go poor off of this sport. So I think that would be the most important thing, that the powers that be, whether it be the promoters, the HBOs, the Showtimes, all the people that really understand this sport, come together and run it like a business. one of the things that we're so happy about it in this corner, and in this cornertv.com, is an organization, a company, a beverage like Tecate that has done so much for the sport of boxing. Other people, I think, will come aboard and realize the success with branding that Tecate has done if boxing again would run itself, I'll say it one last time, run itself like a business. You know, this final video of the year for 2010 really gets me excited about the prospects that lay ahead for the sport of boxing in 2011. Whether Pacquiao and Mayweather comes to fruition or not, there are so many great fights that we'll see in the year ahead. And, you know, boxing is alive and well heading into the new year. We're getting ready to go into our 7th year with our television show In This Corner. In fact, April the 1st will be 7 years without interruption, which is oh so difficult to do in any sport, let alone the sport of boxing. So first off, we want to thank you, the boxing fans, and obviously our major sponsor, Tecate, Cerveza con Carácter, for being a great part of it. For producer John Hyatt, I'm Smitty. Happy New Year, everybody. See you in 2011.